Look, I thought, overall, I thought another good practice. I was just telling the team, I mean, there were some things, there's been some things that I've seen, defensively each day that I've really been pleased about. And there's been some things offensively that I've been really pleased about. So, what you're looking for is a little bit of that, ebb and flow to practice. And you don't ever want to see one side of the ball dominate the whole practice. I don't think we've seen that yet. And so I think the one thing, defensively that, has been encouraging is we've gotten our hands on the football a significant amount of times. We've made some plays, taking the ball away, which has been impressive. And then look, offensively, I think there's been, throughout the course of the last 3 days, I think there's been some explosive plays down the field, which has been encouraging to see. So I think we're making progress, and yet we still have a long way to go.
Dig, what have you seen in terms of tempo, pace, and energy so far?
Yeah, look, I think it's been good. Look, we're day 3 of camp. We're still, we just put on some shells today, so we still haven't even got into, full contact practice and things of that nature. So what I've been pleased with is the focus, the energy, the attention to detail. And look, like I told the guys, I mean, we start practice at 9 a.m. and we're getting done around, 7 p.m. at night. And so I'm asking for, give me 100% focus and concentration from 9 to 7, and then I think they need to have some time to relax a little bit and hang out as a team. So that's kind of been the process here.
Dennis, can you talk about the balance with your backup quarterbacks, the balance between being aggressive versus making a smart throw?
Well, look, I think every day you're out here is a learning experience, and in particular when you're talking about young players. And so, I think, the thing that we have to do is, we have to get those guys to understand when we're talking about the routes, understand what the progression is, and make sure they're going through and reading out the progression and not playing rat ball. And so if you read it out and go through your progression and the defense makes a nice play, you get a chance to go look at it and you get a chance to make the corrections. It's the ones where you're like, I think Twitter would say WTF or something like that, right? Okay, where and it's like, what are you doing here? So I think that's the balance. You know what I mean? Stay within the scheme, do your job, read out the progressions, and if you're doing that and the defense makes a play, then we try to help you make a better decision next time.
Yeah, what do you think about Jake Haynes' play today?
Look, I'd have to go back, and there's so much you're looking at right now. It'd be hard for me to really comment in particular. I know he made one really good throw on a deep end cut in that last team period, which is impressive to see. So, I think before I made any type of evaluation on that, I'd probably have to go back and look at the tape.
It looked like Marshawn left early and didn't come
Yeah,
back.
he left with a little bit of a hip flexor.
We also saw Kendra Miller just before practice. Is he doing any better?
He's going through the hamstring rehab process, so that's where he's at.
How much does the blocking responsibility change for Chris and receivers just in this scheme? Is it a lot more?
Well, I think it's probably emphasized more in this scheme and what they have to do. And look, obviously the number one job of a wide receiver is to catch the football. That's the number one thing that he gets paid to do. Okay, but to have the opportunity to catch the football, you have to be willing to do the other dirty jobs, which allows the offense to be successful. No different than defensively, and these rushers get paid to rush the quarterback, all right? But you have to earn the right to rush the quarterback. And so I look at it kind of the same way.
Dennis, Carl Granderson had a pretty good, solid team drills, couple of stats. What have you thought about his game so far?
Well, look, here's what I would say about Carl. Carl comes to work every day and gives us everything he has. And so when you watch his development from when he first got here, 200 30 pounds to now he's 280 something pounds. From a guy that didn't really know whether the ball was pumped or stuffed to now a guy that's understanding different, blocking schemes and recognizing pre-snap formations and what type of plays that he can anticipate, and then reacting to the ones that aren't what we might anticipate. But that comes through a lot of effort and hard work on his part, both physically and mentally. And I think that's where you see guys improve, and that's what Carl's done.
Have you seen that effort, that hard work still there even after having the season?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's just who he is. It's just what he is, And look, when you train yourself that way, it just becomes a part of your DNA, a part of who you are, part of what you're all about, and really, money is not a motivating factor. Motivating factor is intrinsic. What do you want to, what are you pushing yourself to be? Not some sort of extrinsic factor like money or anything like that.
I thought it was interesting. I'm sure it was just an oversight and not intentional, but you were listing all the defensive ends that there's question marks about, and you listed Chase, Cam, and Peyton, and Isaiah, and didn't list Carl. He's kind of a known.
Yeah, well, look, I think Carl's earned the right to, be somebody that we're really going to count on. And I anticipate that we're really going to count on him. I list all those other guys because you got a couple of young guys that, haven't produced at a level that we need them to. You have a guy like Cam that's produced at a really, really high level for a long time. And can he still do those things? Can Chase, come off the injury and produce at a level that is commensurate with where he was drafted? I think all those guys have variables that you're looking at, whereas Carl's a guy that just continued to improve and improve and improve. He's not coming off any sort of injuries or, anything like that. So, and yet I think Carl is trying to prove that he's, in an elite classification.
Yeah.
And I think that's where his motivation is.
Do you think that Peyton Turner's a guy that you can trust, or he still has to show it?
He's got to show it. Yeah. I think him and Foskey both are in that boat of, prove it. I think both of them have the ability. Both of them are fully capable, but I think both of them are in the prove it mode.
Have you looked at any evaluations on Chase Young through what he's done in 3 days?
It's really hard to say. I'll say this. I'll say that the first time I saw him, he was way bigger than I thought he was going to be.
That's exactly what I said.
He's huge. He fits the mold of really what we're looking for, and I think from an athletic standpoint, from a speed standpoint, he's going to bring some stuff to the table for us. So, just from a physical skill set standpoint, I've been highly impressed. I've been highly impressed with his intrinsic motivation to prove himself. That's been cool to see. And so, look, we're anxious to get him involved a little bit more. He went through all the individual drills with the D-line today. We'll slowly incorporate him into some more activity as we keep going, and yet we're going to be, smart with him and try not to rush him too much.
For the pass rush, if you look statistically last year, your defense finished maybe more in the middle of the pack rather than the top 10 statistically anyway. How much of last year's pass rush problems, inconsistencies, kind of contributed to that? To just the overall statistical. I think you guys were 14th in yards. 15th. Yeah.
Well, look. I think obviously the pass rush is an area that we've got to improve on. And I think we've look. Our standard is what our standard is, and we've set a high standard around here defensively in terms of what we expect. And there's nobody on our defense that's going to shy away from that. And so from that standpoint, we've got to be a lot better. And I think the pass rush is part of it. Our ability to finish on the quarterback has got to be part of it.
So, we talked about also last year about explosive plays and stuff. I know there's more than one thing into it, but what a better pass. This may sound really obvious, but would a better pass rush take care of those explosive plays? Or
I bet you can answer that question.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Right? The answer is yes. You know, I mean, look, we got to rush the passer better, and look, there's no more important coordination on defensive football than in the passing game and the coordination between the pass rush and the pass coverage. You can cover as well as you can possibly cover. If you can't get to the quarterback, eventually they get open, right? And if you can get to the quarterback as fast as you want to, but if you're not covering anybody, all right, or you're not contesting throws, then you're not going to be able to cover, you know, on the back end. So you're not going to be able to sack the quarterback. So those two things have to work together, and so we got to be more coordinated in that area.
Davis, I was
Let's take
watching,
two more,
watching Demario Davis today, really demonstrative in how he's kind of getting on his teammates that are coming in second, third team. When it comes to Tyron, have you noticed him doing more of the same? Like,
So I would say, from a leadership standpoint, you know, Double D is going to be more the vocal out front leader, and it's going to be more demonstrative. And I think Tyron's more going to pull him aside, you know, and have kind of the, for lack of a better term, backroom conversations with guys. But I think both of them have their own way of, you know, leadership and bringing some guys along. You probably see it a little bit more out of, you know, a guy like Demario, maybe a guy like Cam. But I think all three of those guys, from a defensive standpoint, have some great leadership ability.
Is he in that same group of players that just have gotten better mentally along with the physical, even though the physical traits may have kind of gone away a little bit? Yeah. I think, you know, at some point, you know, that's what you're really. I mean, more often than not, guys that have really long, extended careers in our league, they're not doing it because they're the best athletes. They're doing it because, you know, they understand the mental part of the game, and they understand the ability to take care of their bodies. One more.
Yeah, might as well complete the defensive end rundown. We talked about Ozanowski making some flash plays in the spring. Is he continuing to develop coming into camp the way you?
Yeah, look, I think I've seen some good things out of him in the first 3 days of camp, and so that's been. There's a lot of encouraging signs. The arrow in my mind is pointed up, but we're still at the bottom of the mountain. You know what I mean? We still got another 3,500 feet of climbing, and so you know, we just got to keep working. All right, thanks, guys.